What is going on, my friends? Hope you're doing fantastic. Welcome to a daily dose of Howard. If you are a new online coach and you are trying to get your coaching business off the ground, but for some reason you just find it hard to get actions going, right? You find it hard to take action. You find yourself procrastinating, hesitating, and things just aren't getting done. You know what to do. You know that you have to put those ads out, or you have to send those DMs, or you have to put out that piece of content. But for whatever reason, it's just not happening. One of the biggest things I can tell you is you're not understanding how to handle self-doubt. And my friends, that is what I'm here to do. There's a 3-step formula that I like to follow whenever I myself go through any kind of self-doubt, because it happens to everybody. But the most successful people in any industry, but especially the coaching industry, the most successful people, they understand how to navigate self-doubt so that they can work regardless. All right? So I'm gonna paint the picture for you. Let's say that you're waking up at 7 o'clock, and then maybe 7:30 after you brush your teeth and take a shower or eat breakfast, whatever. Let's say that you start DMing clients, right? Or you start to DM potential clients, right? But all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, but if this person might not respond to my messages, or this person might not like my approach, or they might not like my services. One thing I want you to do, and I got a part of this from Mel Robbins recently, is count 5 seconds on the way down, right? And then just take a deep breath. That should help center your mind. And more than that, take that 5 seconds, take that deep breath, and then think of a outcome that's desirable to you after you do these DMs, right? So if I give an example, if I'm panicking, I don't know what's gonna happen. Shoot, I'm nervous, blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, I could take a deep breath, count 5 seconds down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then after that, I say to myself or out loud, a great result would be if I were to get 5 responses from my DMs, right? That way you're starting to focus on something other than the panic, all right? Now, that's not the whole process, but that's a part that will be highly useful. That 5-second countdown, that deep breath, and then focusing on a desirable outcome. Because when our brain can focus on a desirable outcome, it helps clear the clutter out of our head. When we are in a state of panic, it's chaos. It's chaos in our heads, it's clutter, there's no clarity, and that's just going to enhance the panic. But if we can see a clear goal that we have, having 5 responses after these DMs, then it cuts through all that clutter, and we can start to focus on the fact that that's something that is desirable, and it's going to help us center ourselves a lot more, all right? Now, after you do that, that's the first step. You do that, let's go to the second step. Now, in the second step, we want to focus on the process, not the outcome, which somewhat contradicts the last step, but not a ton, right? So we do our 5-second countdown, and then we tell ourselves, what can I learn from this process? It's that simple, all right? What can I learn from this process to get to the outcome of 5 responses a day? All right? You see how we tie those into each other? The first step, it calms you down. It gets rid of panic. You're not just telling yourself to calm down. You are making yourself calm down by thinking of a desirable outcome and giving your brain room to think and think of something besides the panic. That's the first step. The second step, you're telling yourself, what can I learn from this process? when we can shift our thinking from outcome to process, it helps to decrease self-doubt. Because self-doubt often comes if we don't believe we can get to a certain result, right? If we don't believe we can get to a certain result, why would we do that thing in the first place? If we don't think it's going to happen. And a lot of times our brain has a hard time distinguishing between real and fake. All right. And so if we legit think that we're not going to get a great result after these DMs, then we're much less likely to take action on that because our brain's thinking that we're not going to get those results. All right. So learning to focus on the process forces us to focus on what we can do to get a desired result, but we're not focused on that desired result necessarily. We're focused on the process itself. We're focused on, okay, if I DM a person this way, then they're more likely to respond. If I DM him this way, then they're not as likely to respond. It's that simple. It's that simple, right? Once you learn to focus on the process and not the outcome, the third step you want to do is look at everything as feedback. All right? It's that simple. So I'm going to reiterate the steps that we have so far. First step, 5-second countdown, deep breath. Think about the more desirable result from the action, right? Second step, right? Focus on the process. What can I do to learn from this process right here? And then third step, I put two up. Third step, what can I learn after the process? The feedback. What can I learn afterwards? You see what we're doing here? Things are not outcome driven now. It's all still related to the process. Sure, if somebody ghosts us, that's not desirable, but it's still part of a learning process, right? We can still gain something from it. We can still see, okay, I approach this person this way. Maybe if I change it next time, then I will be more likely to get a desirable result, right? So we still have that desirable result in the back of our heads, but now we're focused on the process during the action as well as after the action. And this is so important when it comes to deleting what's the word? It's so important when it comes to bringing self-doubt down, because no longer is the outcome the main focus. Now it's the process, and the process can always change. And when we know for a fact that we can always change something, such as the process, there's no reason to self-doubt, or there's not nearly as much of a reason to self-doubt, because we know that the process is ever changing to better fit what we want the result to be. When we know and have clarity on what we need to change and how we can change it, there's really no reason for our brains to feel self-doubt, right? And so if you follow those steps, then it becomes a lot easier to decrease self-doubt and become much more confident in your online coaching, because now you're focused on the process, not the outcome. The outcome still matters, but the process, being the main focus, is going to drive you to create that outcome that you desire. You're not just focused on the outcome and panicking because you might not get to the outcome. You're focused on what can I do in this process during it and after it to make the outcome that I want more likely. That way, the next time you do it, maybe the next day, you send out those DMs. You go through this process. If you end up doubting yourself again, you go through this process of 5-second countdown, deep breath, creating a specific outcome, that you would desire, like 5 DM replies, all right? And then focusing on the process to get to the outcome during the action. And then after the action, once you get the feedback, you can see what you can improve upon to be more likely to get that outcome, all right? And my friends, it's that simple. That is the 3-step process in order to go from panic mode and self-doubt to I can just learn from this. Once you figure out you can learn from anything, my friends, self-doubt just barely shows itself, because you can tell yourself that it's all a learning process. And there is no error when it comes to learning, because that's just the whole point of learning, to learn how to get better at not making errors. All right? So I hope that helped you, my friends, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, night, or afternoon, whatever that might be. Till next time, peace.